Welcome everyone to the latest edition of Say What? I'm your host, Laura Thornquist, and via Zoom, I have here with me Julie Williams. You know, we're still working from home due to the quarantine, but we are beginning to see some light with Texas starting to open up in phases. How have you been holding up with all this, Julie?
I've been doing okay. It comes and goes. Some days are easier than others. I had a small plumbing issue, and and I'm like, oh, at least I'm here to deal with it. But yeah, it's been nice. So it'll be nice when things start to truck along, get back to a little bit more normal.
You know, it's been interesting to learn how to communicate differently. When you're used to being in an office, you can just go pop in somebody's office and ask them a quick question, and you know, people read things differently when you're chatting, and it's so I never realized how important it is sometimes just to talk face to face.
Oh, for sure. Yes, it's a lesson maybe the younger generations already know via text, just communicating like that's not how I meant that at all, or yeah. And everyone's schedules are a little bit different. You never know when somebody else is at lunch and you're like, I really wanted this answer right away.
Right. Right. Or invariably, I try to go and work out during my lunch hour, which is, various times. And I will start my workout and I just ping, 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 ping. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not working out.
Yeah, yes, I'll do that a little bit later. Yep.
Right. Anyway, today we're going to tackle why some people have to pay a deposit for electricity and others actually don't. You know, it's one of the most asked questions that we receive from Texas inquiring about our service. So millions of Americans have basically, I hate to say it, but a less than perfect credit score. And many have a credit score that is low enough to require them to pay higher interest rates or security deposits. However, a higher credit score doesn't necessarily exempt somebody from having to pay a security deposit for electricity. So, what are the requirements that providers are looking for when they check your credit? And how can deposits be avoided? That's what we're going to tackle today, right, Julie?
Yes, indeed. And electricity is a little bit different. So as you may not have realized, but I'm sure you know, that when you enroll with an electricity provider, you are billed for that service you receive after you've already used it. So most electricity providers want to perform a soft utility credit check before processing the enrollment. And they do this so that they can, identify who you are, verify that you are who you say you are, and they check your utility payment history. Now, soft credit checks are going to require your full legal name, your social security number, and your date of birth.
And that's why we ask for that information, by the way.
Otherwise, yes, very, very true. Because for every contract, we're going to need to be providing that for them. So, and it's important to remember, though, that these are not hard credit checks. So that means that each time, a provider checks your credit, it's not going to ding you. You don't have to worry about it showing up as an inquiry on your credit history or anything like that. Now, generally, if a deposit is required or requested, I should say, that it's going to either be about 1/5 of your estimated bill total for a year or a total of like the first 2 months of your expected electricity costs. So that's usually what they ask for up front.
So let's say you've recently attempted to enroll with a new provider and they've asked you to pay a security deposit. Now, the primary reason for this, for the deposit requirement, is poor utility credit history. So you maybe perhaps other options, though, is you maybe have placed a freeze on your credit. And that's another option, and the provider can't verify your identity. So it's not always a utility credit history problem. Maybe you've never had utilities in your name before. That's another reason perhaps that they're asking for this, and they still don't have a utility credit history. So, or another option, you might have an unpaid balance from a previous electricity provider and the balance was sent to collection. So that's another reason for them.
Right. And more people might have something like that than they realized.
That's right.
Meaning, depending if they had automatic pay set up and then that stopped with the contract, some people think they're good and might not realize as well, especially if you've moved and your mail didn't, there's a lot of reasons why these things might occur.
Right.
But good news is that there are ways that you can waive a deposit if a provider is requesting one. So each provider has a different set of requirements in order to actually accomplish the deposit waiver, but they all follow the same guidelines. The most well-known and widely used one is what we call a letter of credit. So if you can show, it's going to be a document that you get that is going to show your credit payment history. And if you can show that it's in good standing, meaning that there's only one potential late fee or late payment listed, then you're gonna be able to often get that deposit waived. And you would do that by requesting that letter from your current provider, or depending on if you haven't been with them for 12 months, whoever you've been with for the last 12 months. And also another option is for active military with, if they can provide their ID and show, then there's a waiver for them. Also, if you're over 65, you can provide a copy of your driver's license and or state identification. And then you would also need to include a recent bill showing good standing.
Now, if you don't meet those requirements and you end up really having to pay a deposit, well, there's a little bit of a silver lining. The Public Utility Commission of Texas actually requires all providers to return deposits in full plus interest. That's with the PUC determining the interest amount. Now, providers tend to return deposits after 12 executive months of positive payment history. So if you pay your bills, you're going to get your money back. Or if you decide to switch providers, they will return your deposit minus the balance of the final invoice. However, oftentimes the return of the deposit, it can be delayed, and it is recommended that you contact your provider and ask them about the refund process to ensure that your deposit gets returned to you in a timely manner. Nobody wants to wait for their money. They want it, and they want it now. Of course, for Energy Ogre members, you don't have to worry about contacting your provider. You can send us a quick email at membercare@energyogre.com or just call us at our phone number. It's, in case you want to know, it's 832-975-1000. And of course, our Ogres, they will work on your behalf to ensure that that deposit is returned to you just as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's just that follow-up that's important, but as long as you're paying your bills, you will get it back, which is great. But the important question might be, how do you avoid having to pay electricity deposits in the future? And remaining in good standing with your utility payments is the name of the game. So making your payments on time helps you not only avoid unnecessary late fees or other payment issues and things, but it's going to keep that credit history in good standing, because that's going to be the #1 factor of causing issues for you. So the best thing to do is enrolling in automatic payments, because life happens, we all understand that. And so not only you may not remember or, whatever, but if it can be on an automatic setup, then you're not going to have any late fee on there or late payment option. But if for some reason also something happens and you can't pay your bill, you can always contact your provider and inform them of the issue and request a payment schedule, and where they can have a modified payment structure for you. And that also will help you avoid late fees. There might be a fee included, but it's not a late payment. It'll be shown as a different situation. So, and that will also, all of that will help you avoid disconnection notices or potentially being disconnected, which is obviously the biggest thing we want to avoid.
Absolutely. It's all about communication. It really is at the end of the day. We understand finding out that an electricity provider requiring a deposit in order to start service can be a real bummer. Totally get it. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to receive affordable electricity service. So helping our members resolve account issues and making sure that all of the bases are covered is just as important as saving our members money to us. So we don't just select the lowest electricity provider based on your usage consumption. We manage every aspect of the account. So if you need our help, you can give us a call or send us an email, and we're going to work with the provider on your behalf to ensure that the issue has been completely resolved. We love fixing your problems at the end of the day. And Julie, I guess it's probably really important that we mention as well that there are cases where there are no deposits required, but for anybody. So you try everybody and they're requiring a deposit, but then you found an electricity provider says, oh, okay, we can take you without this deposit. It's not necessarily the best option. Can you explain why?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm hearing in my head, those TV commercials, good, bad credit, no credit. The thing about those types of options is they're going to be higher rates. So you're going to be paying more for your electricity throughout the year than you would be, than you need to be. So they're going to make up that money somehow. They're going to take care of that risk in some way. So that's how they do it, which, throughout the year, paying hundreds of dollars more, potentially especially in the summer, in 1 month, that's going to be harder on you in the long run than, losing a little bit up front, which I know that can be tricky, but you pay more for that no deposit. So, which is just, it's not what we're after. So, but hey, we would love to hear from you if you tried to enroll with a provider and you've ever had an experience with a deposit. If you've gotten one returned and want to share, we'd love to hear about how that experience has been for you and how you've gotten through it. So just let us know.
Yep, share the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And as we say, be cool, stay kind, and do great things.
It's the Ogre way.